Welcome to this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. My name is Michelle Walters, and I am the Mind Power part of our podcast. I am joined this week by my co host, Cinthia Varkevisser, who is our show Mystic. We are very excited this week to be welcoming Peige Rosales to the podcast. Peige says, "It takes courage to dream." Peige Rosales is a fierce dream defender. Working with individuals and groups, she uses words, magic, and movement to help her clients give voice to their dreams and desires and supports them as they transform, making the inner and outer changes clients need to become the kind of person who moves from desire to done. Peige believes each of us is born with a number of life's purposes, possibilities that ripen throughout our lives, that are gifts to the world. I'm here to tell you that the world needs your gifts. Welcome, Paige. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
We're thrilled that you're here with us. Um,
Thanks, Cynthia.
I'm really excited to talk with you because you have creativity on in every one of your worlds, right? So you're a yoga instructor or a yoga guide, and so you're there with the mind-body connection, but there's definitely physical in there. And then you hold retreats so that you do deep inner work, and you also you are a writer and you help others write so that you're helping them with their expression, their emotional bodies, and really it's all spiritual work. So I'm really excited to talk to you about all these worlds that you're in, and I can see the through line, which doesn't happen very often, right?
Thank you so much. That's kind of my so I've throughout my life, I've done checks. Okay, what's the through line? What's the through line? And so I appreciate your noticing that, Cynthia. Thank you.
It's really obvious because I'm not the most acute person in the world. So, just so you know, it's very clear. My question to you, what Michelle was brilliant on talking about a chakra series, and we are here talking to you about the second chakra, which has to do with femininity, creativity, receptivity. It's from this place of expression, and you embody it. So, can you tell us how you got started? Like, where did you start with yoga and then go into writing, or how did this journey start for you?
Okay, this is so interesting to me, Cynthia, because so so I am I've spent time as a yogi and a spiritual person working up through the chakra systems for myself. And Svadhisthana was it was interesting because I've tended to be a very uh kind of intense, focused, young person. So when you mentioned the feminine, the creativity, and the yin, um, I'll tell you. So I'll just keep talking and tell you how I got there. I am a I retired after about 40 years in early childhood education. Some of that was working directly with children, with families, doing teacher training. So I've done pretty much all the jobs. They let me, I even was the cook one day, but they did only let me do that one day because the grits were lumpy. So they said I couldn't cook anymore. I was no longer the sub. Um, but when I got to the place, the writing part, I've I've been a communicator. I'm grateful to have been born someone who loves words. My mother helped me with that, and I was good at putting words together. And then friends would be doing they'd be doing a project or a master's thesis or whatever. And I'd say, if you want me to, I'll check it for you. Like I'll check for commas because it felt good to me, it like to create order. But here's what I discovered over time. If people have something important to say, if they've got a message or a project or an intention that I can get behind, I can help their words serve them so that the people receiving their words receive the message. And of what I mean a number of things by that. Sometimes, and I have clients who, for example, I have a client who started out wanting to do a series of courses and then a year-long program, and ultimately came to the place where what she wants to do is to have a membership community that can deeply, deeply explore what she's bringing to the world. And so we've created the structure for that, but it took word magic to get to the place where she was able to articulate what's really wanting to come through and then put it in some sort of order. And then she figured out how she wants to deliver that order. So whether I'm doing that or whether I'm doing content editing on books, it's important that the words flow. Now, here's the deal. Not everybody cares about commas. And so for some people, right? Okay, so when you're reading and and you trip, then the message gets taken away. So I help with that part, but even more importantly, I help that the words say the thing that the person is intending to say from their spirit. Um, and that's been true whatever they're doing, whether they're writing a book, creating a course or a program. I have one client who's creating a movement, and so we're working on a speech that will help her to get positivity out into the world. I adore my clients, as you can tell. So that's where it came from, but really it came from, so there's a thread. There's the word thread. The spirituality thread started when I was a little girl, and my grandma taught me some yoga and some meditation. And I don't know if anyone remembers Lilius from the olden days, but Lilius Yoga and You on public television. Um, and then so for the entire period of time when I was in early childhood education, I would say that every time a child is born, a new hope is born for the world. I believe this. I believe this to be true, but it doesn't stop at childhood, you see. And so every one of us has these gifts and passions that are here to be expressed. So some of my clients come to me knowing what it is or having an idea, like they're an entrepreneur or an author or they've got something. But some folks, for example, the way I was in my 50s and newly divorced, empty nest, and I could do anything I wanted to do. I put that very much in air quotes. And what that made me want to throw up. I was so scared because I hadn't desired anything for myself for years. And so sometimes I work with people who have an idea of where they're headed, but sometimes I work with people who are newly retired or newly empty nesters and who, here's the truth, I kind of knew the things I wanted to do, but it was scary. And so I help people to name them, because when we name them, when we allow that connection to that deep desire, which is located right there in the Svadhisthana in the second chakra, that's where our desire lives. And then when we can begin to give it force and give it heart and give it voice, it comes out into the world. And so
Sounds like that's
that's
what
what
you
I'm here
do,
doing.
Paige. That's desire to done, right?
Desire to done. Exactly. That was a long answer, y'all. Sorry about that.
It was complete. It was a good answer.
Thank you.
It was a great answer. When I met you a few months ago, I thought, oh, I really like Paige. And one of the reasons why I found you a really interesting person to talk to and to get to know, and I'm glad you're able to be here today, really is this power of words. Because I've written two books. I love words. Words are important. Choosing the right words for things is very important. I'm also a hypnotherapist. And so using the right words for someone is really, I don't want to say critical to their success, but it matters, you know? And so even if I'm working with a client and I say, well, where would you feel very relaxed? And maybe they say a forest. That's not good enough. What kind of forest is it? Is it a redwood forest? Is it a pine forest? Is it an oak forest? Like, describe it for me because just using another descriptor on top of forest makes it so much more emotional, so much more clear, so much more personalized that that person can actually have a much tighter relationship with it. And so, it's not always about describing forests. Oh, we do beaches a lot too. But having, the right words is so, so important. How do you how do you show other people how to use your gift in selecting words? Does that make sense?
Oh, oh, it does. I love this question. I'm kind of breathing into it. So when you said what kind of forest, my immediately I thought, what does it smell like? Because one of my truths is that I am a van dweller for usually about half a year. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, are we smelling the moist sort of leaf litter? Are we smelling the pignon? Are we smelling so one of the ways that I help people with um, with developing their own voice and moving that desire to done in the world is helping them to go deep. So we lean into what things feel like, what things smell like, what things sound like. Where does that dwell in your body? So, for example, if we're doing memory work, if I'm working with people who are doing uh, s- memoir type writing, um, and and that shows up a lot, not just in memoir writing, but most of us have a story that comes from somewhere, even if it's fiction. Remembering to I off there's the show me don't tell me. Okay, what does it look like, what does it feel like, and really doing some guided meditation work to go there. Another way to help people get in touch with those words in a deep way is um, to help them. Oh, I just had it, hold on, it's right there. um, to go to the sticky place. Bec because typically, if things aren't flowing, there's a stuck energy, so we go to the sticky place, we shift the energy, we find the new energy, the thing that's ready to be born, the thing that's ready to come forth, and then things start flowing. A lot of times, what ends up happening is that people either have something maybe from the past that needs to be voiced, that's you know and so this is the mystic part, right? When we in my experience, if things aren't flowing, there's often a part of us that's been so good at being a protector, and they're afraid that if we become that big, if we open our throats and we use that voice, if we allow this secret hidden thing that we're holding in our second chakra, and then we want to move it into the world, is it safe? Will we be safe? because it requires us to become a different person, a person who does that thing, who says those words, who paints that picture, or you know what I'm saying, right? Very often in my experience, that part of us needs to be reassured that number one, they've done a good job. They've kept us safe. And then number two, it's okay now. So we do that kind of healing work. Um, and it's often very subtle. It has to do with but being seen, subtle but seen. And then sometimes um, you're in a hotel room because you're on vacation together and it's raining, and you spend 3 hours of the rainy morning looking for the just right word to shift it to figure out what really is going to carry the meaning. And that is a true story. So sometimes it's mystical and sometimes it's just hard work and a thesaurus.
I'm so glad you started talking about energy. And because as a spiritual shit disturber, you are now in my world and I am thrilled. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to ask you a question more on the energetic side. One of my favorite
Yeah.
things to do for my clients is we find that as we grow, we realize, just like you said, that there are a lot of sticky points with the people that we're communicating with. And so one of the things that I say is sometimes we have a message, but we say it, and because it's so perfect to us and it's a download, that everybody will understand it. And that's not true, right? We are 1 in 68 trillion, the odds of someone communicating just like us. So our my thing is I like to say, do you know what chakra this person is coming from when they're communicating? Because that's the chakra you want to communicate with. And it's not always the chakra that you're coming from. So respect their chakra, form the words so that they can understand, and that's helps the stickiness release, and then we can have a spiritual conversation, right? Is to elevate the conversation. It feels like you do the same thing. I was wondering if you know where people come from, which chakra they come from, or maybe you don't work that way, that you work very holistically. But have you found that there's someone who's so into one chakra that you just got to go into that chakra and help them elevate up? Does that make sense?
It does make sense to me. That's really interesting. And I haven't thought about it in that way, but I but it makes sense. So I think that there are probably a number of ways of saying meet them where they're at. So I
Exactly.
have a client who is an author of children's books to give them simple strategies to navigate a complex world. She's a mental health therapist and she writes really delightful children's books to weave in um, mental health strategies that too many children don't have access to and are in big need of. So I would say that for her, she's meeting her clients in very much the first and second chakra place and third chakra places where it's about home and being able to be who you are authentically, and then safety, and then moving into heart and expression. Um, I would say that for me, this is it's interesting, and I think it's intuitive. Um, I have, I definitely have clients who show up right in their heart. A lot of times, and h- heart because they've got this big desire to give to people. Another thing that happens, though, very often, I think, in our society is that folks are very headbound. So they've got an idea, and maybe their idea is at their voice. But one of the things that I know to be true is that the so the the throat chakra is the meeting point. It's where everything that's been happening and bubbling up in the body comes to be in expression. So it's that connection place, right? When folks, and many of us are in our heads, um, like I've worked with people and I say, where do you feel that in your body? And folks will say, I don't. No problem. That's where we lean on story. Because as whether they're writers or whether they're creating content for a course or um, a body of work, or whether they are simply trying to figure out what they want to do with, let's say, the last third or the last quarter of their personal or professional lives, um, talking through allows those pieces to come together. The words give us clues into where they're coming from. So it may be fear. We may have a third chakra situation, or it may be a closed heart or an open heart that has nowhere to go, or a fear of saying what's so. Um, I have a one of my the my gifts to the world is a desire discovery deck, which is basically playing cards, because this stuff should be fun. Desire should be fun. And it's basically like, okay, let's give voice to what you might desire. Do you want to crochet? Do you want to hike? Do you want to get a bird? Do you want to try kink? It doesn't matter what it is. Having the courage to say it and to feel that deep desire and then give it voice is uh is key. And I really love, Cinthia, how you put it into speaking to which chakra they're coming from. I love that idea.
Thank you. I love that
Oh, thank
it took me 5 minutes to say exactly what you said in one sentence, which is meet them where they're at. I obviously am still working my fifth chakra. So, and my partner loves to say brevity, brevity. I'm like, wait, there's so much more. So, I have one
you.
more question for you. And what I find, because you work the physical, mental, emotional, and that you are all in, you embody all of that. Have you found that you have clients where they are so rooted in something that you're like, you know what? Let's do some movement. Let's do some yoga. Let's I won't say distract, but it's a more circuitous way for them to find their way in. I like to say it's sneaky and or a curveball, but and I'm asking because I am a martial artist and I do things like that. So it's like, well, let's just try this. Let's do that. Let's disorient them a little bit so it shakes them up and then gets them back into being open. Have you come across that? And is it something that is more often than not, or what's your experience in that?
Absolutely. I love that. And I will, so little sidebar for myself. I was very stuck in my head, except that I had always had this connection to yoga, and it would come and go and come and go. And when I did my yoga teacher certification, one of the one of the things that came to me as a very clear truth is that yoga taught me to pray even before I knew what praying was. That basically, that before I could sit in the cross-legged position for 20 minutes, yoga took me, being on my mat was my meditation. I think that it's so powerful, and movement practices are critical for folks. And so I do often bring them in. So there are two pieces to that. Number one, how movement happens can be, I love what you said, very sneaky. taking your coffee outside in the morning and putting taking my tea outside in the morning and putting my feet in the grass for 5 minutes is a form of movement and meditation. Um, Starting work with 3 deep breaths, stretching out our fingers, anything that brings us mindfully into relationship with our body in the moment. And so I definitely use that. And I would say I use that all the time. It looks different on different clients because people are open to things differently. But I'm also very aware that do I know what I'm doing when I work with someone? Absolutely. Is it always different? 100%. Because some folks come in and they're ready to do the magic and to do the guided meditation and to get the download. And some folks want to get down to business. And then over the course of a few months or a few weeks, we start to see the places where we need to make an energetic shift, where a somatic practice will help, where a guided meditation will help, where a visualization will help. And so what I do love is having enough modalities to be able to offer gifts, a just in time gift to a client if and when they're ready to receive it. It's one of my favorite things.
Paige, I love that. And on behalf of me and Cinthia, thank you for joining us today on Mind Power Meets Mystic. We are honored to have you here. What would you like to share with our listeners before you leave?
So I mentioned my Desire Discovery deck, which I think is a whole lot of fun. It's downloadable. You print them out, you cut them out, and you play with them. Um, I've got some game suggestions for playing alone or playing with others, and so I'd love to offer that to your listeners. And then if I also have a sort of a flow charty thing that helps people who have a desire. Like if you've got a desire and you've got a sticky place, it helps folks to see where they're stuck and how they might move that forward. So I've got a little link where people can go and they can click on one of those, and then um, I would love to invite people to have a chat with me. Let's schedule a chat to talk about uh, a passion project that they're ready to move from desire to just get it done, or maybe people are seeing that they've got this big opportunity with time on their hands and they want to figure out what's the next new thing, the next delicious, juicy thing in their life. I love to talk to people.
Beautiful.
To
Thank
listen.
you so much, Paige. Thanks for being on Mind Power Meets Mystic.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much. Cynthia, thank you so much. This was a joy.
Thank you. It was wonderful.